I'm a bit late to the party on this one, but I'll never turn down an excuse to play the clip of Ralph talking about how he loves shitting on himself and how he's going to make so much money doing it. Also, there is some somewhat recent news regarding both Nick Rekieta and EthanRalph. Specifically, that Nick Rekieta, about 2 months ago, has officially been removed from the death enemy list. Nick Rekieta is no longer a death enemy. It's okay, because after EthanRalph implied that Nick Rekieta misused $260,000 that was going to charity, called his kids a brood of retards, implied that he was going to report Nick to the bar, everything like that, it's all hunky-dory now. But before I talk specifics about what's happened recently, I want to talk about why Nick Rekieta ended up on EthanRalph's death enemy list. Specifically for this clip here.
No, Ralph!
That was Nick Rekieta reacting to a clip of EthanRalph sharding himself on stream. It was a pretty reasonable reaction, and it's also interesting now, looking back on it, how Nick Rekieta doesn't look like a coke zombie. But I guess that's what happens when you do copious amounts of coke and let another man fuck your wife. But let's look at how EthanRalph responded to that short video of Nick Rekieta's quite reasonable reaction to hearing someone shart themselves on camera.
Fucking show 24 hours straight about. Okay? And so Augie put out a clip like this was some kind of fucking evidence of me shitting myself. If I shit myself, I would tell you motherfuckers. I'd probably make more money off shitting myself. I might pull down my fucking pants and shit all over the place today. Do they really know what the fuck it is I'm doing? I don't give a fuck about being hated. I don't give a fuck about you talking your shit. I get paid either way. Do you think I would give a fuck? I wouldn't. That's the difference between me and a fraud like Nick Rekieta and Augie. And regardless, I could shit all over myself and I'd still get paid. That's because I'm talented. That's because I'm charismatic. That's because I put on shows that nobody else is fucking putting on. That's why I get paid.
And at that point, Nick Rekieta was now a death enemy of the Rage Hog. And that lasted for quite a while. And like almost everyone else on the internet, Nick Rekieta would make fun of EthanRalph. Everything from getting beat up in Portugal to all the info releasing about his second wife, to everything that happened leading up to his destruction of Cozy, to him now living in a shack in Mexico. But that's not the end of the story for EthanRalph. For you see, Nick Rekieta himself got in a bit of legal trouble when police raided his home, finding copious amounts of cocaine, along with some random women in his house, where the Rekietas and said women were promptly arrested. Now, this isn't just some usual drug bust, as there are a few other charges added onto both Nick Rekieta and his wife's list, including charges involving child neglect and abuse, as well as gun charges relating to unsecured firearms in the presence of children, and of course a spent shell casing found underneath Nick Rekieta's bed. And of course, many people seeing this, specifically relating to the child neglect, as well as one of his children apparently testing positive for cocaine, most people, reasonably, distanced themselves from Nick Rekieta, if not completely disavowed his behavior. There were a few people who still clung on to Nick Rekieta, mostly just trying to squeeze the last bit of relevance out of his dying YouTube corpse. However, there was one man, when Nick Rekieta couldn't even buy any goodwill, who was more than willing to have him on his show and give him an interview. That one man, of course, is EthanRalph. And I'm sure, like me, many people found this very surprising, as Nick Rekieta was a prominent member of EthanRalph's death enemy list, as we showed the clips earlier. But now they seem to be buddy-buddy. Everything was good. It was a bit hard to tell that during the interview, because both, if not just EthanRalph, were clearly off their ass on pills and booze. The interview itself was rather boring. Nothing much going on. Nick Rekieta denying, projecting, and shifting the blame, and EthanRalph just being retarded. But what is interesting is, or at least what is interesting to me, is how quickly or how easily EthanRalph was willing to accept Nick Rekieta back into his good graces. You'd think now of all times, after Nick Rekieta's name's been dragged through the mud, rightly so, that now would be the time to distance yourself as far as possible from him. But no, the alpha male, EthanRalph, with his incredible IQ, his incredible knowledge of the industry, decided to latch onto him and suckle on his baldo. Now, why he did this, honestly, it's EthanRalph. Who the fuck knows? If I was to steel man some kind of argument for him, maybe he's doing something similar to what Wings of Redemption does with Boogie 2988. You know, you're a shitty person, but put someone even more shitty next to you, and your shittiness loses its effect a bit. It could be the case, right? Because obviously EthanRalph's not Parent of the Year, but I don't believe any of his kids have ever tested positive for coke. So you could say he somehow, some way, has a victory over someone in the parenting department now. However, most likely, EthanRalph was high off pills, drinking way too much, and roasting alive in a shack in Mexico. And something happened that brought him to Nick Rekieta, where they chatted. Nick Rekieta looking for absolutely anyone who would even talk to him, and probably being just as high and drunk as EthanRalph, decided to collab together for an interview.